we want to make sure that you're focusing on cash flow. And know that there's more to improving cash flow than simply increasing your income and reducing your expenses. There's many other tools that you can use besides just those two. Welcome. If you're here, it means you made it through one of the most difficult years in retail history. I've been doing this a long time, and 2024 was super, super tough. I knew going into the new year that we were going to have to do things different. And so I spent time looking at what worked last year for our clients. What were the trends? What had I seen people have success with in order to gain and create more momentum going forward into 2025. And that's why I created this series. I found 7 things. I'm going to share with you my top 7 moneymakers for 2025. Don't miss a one. They're all good and juicy, and they will all give you tools for your retail toolbox that you can use to create success and gain momentum for this year. You deserve to be a richer retailer, richer in every sense of the word. And that's what we're here to support you to do. Welcome to episode Lucky 13, How to Stay Ahead of Retail Cash Flow Challenges, 2 Strategies for Success. This is the 3rd part of our top 7 moneymakers to focus on in 2025 series. This episode is going to focus on staying ahead rather than just reacting to cash flow issues, which is what most people do. It's about giving you ways to be proactive and take control because you have much more control than you think you do. I'm going to be giving you tools and strategies to do just that. I want to teach you how to stock up for success, how to create reserves to weather every single season. I want to start out by correcting a very misguided measurement of retail success. People will always grab their profit and loss and go down to that last number, and they judge their success by that number there. That's the profit number, right? You know you do. I know I did. But that is not the true success, frankly. You have to have positive cash flow. You can be profitable and not be able to pay your bills. I know it happened to me. I tell that story all the time. When our accountant said, "Come on in, Kath, I have some good news for you and some bad news." "Oh, great. What's the good news?" "You showed a profit last year." "Really? We did?" I could not believe it because we had not been able to pay our bills. It had been a hard, tough year. Yeah, he said. He said, "You did. You had a profit." The bad news is that you owe taxes. I thought I would scream. How could we owe taxes when we hadn't been able to pay our bills? Like, what the heck? And believe you me, that's a conversation for a whole nother time. Like I said, it's happened to me and I've seen it happen to other people too. That's why we want to make sure that you're focusing on cash flow and know that there's more to improving cash flow than simply increasing your income and reducing your expenses. There's many other tools that you can use besides just those 2. I want you to think of a river that you've seen, a big river that's moving fast, right? So maybe not one as big as like the Mississippi or something, but one that's, you can see it gurgling. You can see the currents of the water moving. You can see that water moving. That's how we want our cash flow to be. As opposed to, imagine that same river, and if a beaver built a dam right in the center of it and the cash flow just stopped. Everyone wants a river, right? No one wants to have their cash flow dammed up. And there's a bunch of reasons it happens, right? But what we want to talk about now is when it does happen, what can you do? And the first step about that is to understand your cash flow cycle. You see, I just got a question from someone just the other day, and they said that they've been in business for 32 years. It was a 2nd-generation store, but that they still had negative cash flow. They just hadn't been able to beat it. And the fact is, you guys, that almost all businesses and stores have negative cash flow. Absolutely. The richer retailer move here is to be ready for it. That's the fact. That's what I want you to be able to do. So how are you ready for it? So the first step is to understand your cash flow cycle, because almost all stores and businesses have negative cash flow months. It's true. So instead of beating yourself up for it, The richer retailer move here is to be ready for it, is to know what to do. All right, so you have to start by creating a cash flow projection. And I'm going to do a whole episode later about the details about how to do that. But for the purposes of this episode, you know when your sales dip and when you need more cash. You know when things get tight. It's most often at the beginning of a season because you have to bring your inventory in right before your sales peak. And so there's always a lag time between when the inventory arrives and when the sales arrive to pay for it, right? So that's often when there is a cash flow crunch. For gift stores, it's almost always from the middle of October to the middle of November until Black Friday. In fact, that's where the name Black Friday comes from, because it was on that day that the retailer's cash flow went from red, being negative, to being positive and in the black. That's where the word Black Friday comes from. So it's almost always in the month of October and going until then that cash flow is tight for gift stores, for example. So you know when it is. I think you could come up with 2 or 3 months that you struggle with cash flow with, right? So now you know when you have to build a reserve for. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be proactive about this, right? So there's 2 strategies like I shared. The first one are the tactical financial strategies. The first thing, do not consider financing options as your first option. Don't go to a bank and get a line of credit or a short-term business loan or something to bridge the gap. I know how easy it is to hit that Shopify button. Yes, I'll take 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever. Right now, they've made so much money from being a bank, Shopify has. But I want you to only do that after you've tried every other thing. I'm going to go through all of them now, but you have so many other options. Do not immediately go for a loan. The easiest, least stressful option, but it's not solving the problem. It's just creating more debt for you, right? So I want us to take other actions so that we can try to stop this from continuing to happen going forward. So this isn't about just putting a Band-Aid on it. It's about trying to solve it. Listen, also, I would be remiss if I didn't say to you that if you need help with this, if this has been going on for years and years and you can't get ahead, reach out. We'd be happy to help you with this. Reach out. You can just DM me anywhere because it's what we do all the time for our clients. We create cash flow projections for them, help them identify when their cash flow is negative, and take all of these actions that I'm going to tell you about to help them get out of it. All right, and sometimes it takes a while. Actually, it often does. Did you know that when you have one bad season, it can take you 18 months to cash flow out of it? So it takes a while. It does. So don't consider short-term financing options as your first option. The best immediate action is detailed inside episode number 7, which is the number 1 step to take to increase your profit. The most important thing you can do is raise your initial markup. And I go into depth in that episode about how to do it and how to make a difference. It's incredible. It's how powerful it is. So much more powerful than you think. Do not make the mistake of saying, oh yeah, markup more. I get it. No. Go listen to that. It's short, but it will change the way you look at your inventory, I swear, because everyone misses this. The proactive thing that we're going to do here is the next step under the tactical strategies is to pull 2% from your sales every day and put it into an online bank account or into some sort of account that you don't see the balance of. 2%, that's all. This is so powerful because it allows you to put money aside to start creating this reserve so that when you do have those dips in the months, you can pull some of the money out then to handle those slow months, right? You have to meter it out. You have to be careful for it, but it will gradually build and build and build. And this can be enough to save you. My next suggestion is to open up a sales tax account where you can pull the money that's paid for sales tax out of your cash and put it into this separate sales tax account so that when sales tax is due, the money is right there. It's sitting right there for you. We love Relay Bank. I will put the link for it in the show notes because they help you so much with all of this. And some of these allocations can be set up to be automatic, which is super powerful. So however you want to do it, monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, but it is so powerful to have that money set aside for when you need the sales tax paid. It's about giving every dollar a job. These two things right here are going to help you significantly. A couple of other tactical ideas is to group your operation bills together in terms of when you pay them. The other thing you can also do is you can know that you can change your credit card due dates. If you have a credit card that you use a lot for inventory, for example, you can change the due date to make it more towards the middle of the month and not towards the beginning of the month when rent comes out. That can help a lot, right? You've got to make sure that you're setting aside 30 non-negotiable minutes a week to manage your cash flow, to take a look at it, to move things around. It is so freeing for you to know that you've blocked this time aside and that you don't have to worry about the other times. And you can just go into your calendar where you make your note about when your financial time is, when that time is you've blocked off, and you can put anything you need to look up. You can put all the notes right in there so you don't have to worry about forgetting anything, and it's all right there. You might need more than 30 minutes to get started, but I don't want you to be intimidated. I want you to just do it. That's what a richer retailer does, right? Another powerful thing is that every anniversary, every store birthday, to make sure you're checking your credit card rates and your insurance rates. If you have any control over either one of those things, it's always worth. Another thing, terms. What terms do you have with your vendors? Refuse COD terms, cash on delivery. Refuse to pay for merchandise before you've had 30 to 60 to 90 days to sell it. It kills cash flow. I have done so much analysis on this and can show you all the spreadsheets, really, of how horrible, how COD completely kills cash flow. It's so true. So don't accept it. Talk to people. When they tell you that it's COD, say, yeah, you know, that it makes it so hard for me to pay my bills. And when they say back to you, oh, well, I know, but I have to pay my bills too. Maybe that vendor's not for you because that's their business problem, not your business problem. And of course, you want to help them. I get it. Well, talk to them. How can you negotiate something different? Can you pay them a little bit up front? What can you do? But do not assume that you have to accept the terms that the vendor gives you. That's the biggest point. You do not have to accept the terms that a vendor gives you. You can negotiate those terms. That's what I want you to do. I want you to request extended payment terms from your vendors. Ideally, not 60 to 90. That's ideal. The thing that people will often say to me is, well, I have vendors who want me to pay who are COD terms, but then I put it on my credit card. So I really have 30 days to pay for it. Not really. Let me share you why. If you get an invoice and you pay it with the credit card, then that amount is on your credit card, right? If you get an invoice and you owe it to the vendor, the difference between the two is come 30 days from now, if something has happened and you're struggling paying, you can call up that vendor. They value your business and you can say to that vendor, listen, I am in a really tough place right now. Could we spread out this bill like for the next 4 weeks or the next 6 weeks? You're going to call that vendor when the money is due. They will work for you. I know this from so much personal experience. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retailers I know that have done this and it has worked so successfully for them. But if 30 days pass and you can't pay for whatever reason, the credit card company doesn't care, and they'll still charge you your 20, 25%, whatever crazy amount that they have. They don't care. They won't help you. A vendor is more likely to help you because it's a partnership, right? Because you're going to work things together with them. So think out of the box. Explore partial upfront payments with the vendor. Just don't accept the terms right away. I also suggest that you hyper-focus on your top-selling items during those slow times. Make sure that you have your never out ofs, which is what we call them in Retail Mavens land. Make sure that you have all those never out of items as you're heading into that slow season, because we don't want anything to happen. We don't want to disappoint a customer when they come in and you don't have that never out of item, right? Now, one of the questions that I get asked is that, what if I have debt on a credit card? I mean, how can I be pulling aside 2% of my sales when I owe so much on a credit card? And what I do is that I just throw any extra cash at it that I can. What I want you to hear me say is that putting aside that 2% is a start to fixing the problem. We have our clients pay the minimum balance only for credit cards, because when you're throwing any extra cash at it that you can, then what happens is that you're throwing away your reserve. So you're throwing away your ability to control your cash flow. That's what you're throwing away. And what if you need more inventory right this very second? I would challenge you to then go listen to episode number 8, the hidden costs of inventory hoarding, because you've got to get that inventory turning. You've got to get that inventory turning, and we go into great depth about that in there. So those are all my tactical financial strategies that I suggest you do. But then the other beautiful thing is that you also have so many income stream strategies. You should create an event for each slow month. What can you do? Could you do a pre-sale? We used to struggle with cash flow always at the end of June and beginning of July. And so we would have a winter coat trunk show. It was a kid's store, and we sold a lot of winter coats and accessories. We would do it the first 2 weeks of July. Yeah, kids would come in their bathing suits to try on winter coats. And that fixed our beginning of fall season cash flow crunch. And yes, for sure, have people say pay now, have people pay up front. What I always recommend saying is we are asking customers for 50% down, but honestly, most are just taking care of the whole thing now just to be done with it. Then it's like it's free when you pick it up, right? When we added that, it increased our cash flow by 40%. And the benefit for the customer is that they are paying for it before the season. You know as well as I do that once fall starts, there's going to be more cost, right? So you're actually helping them too. As part of this, from a tactical financial strategy perspective, also make sure that you're pulling 50% of the money you get in so you can put it aside to pay for it when the inventory comes in too. And then there's other things that our clients have done to conquer this cash flow chaos that can happen. And that you could do a your store only box. You can email client care if you want to and sign up for a workshop that we teach you about how to do that. You can do a cruise. We have people who live near a river, and they will hire a riverboat and just get their customers together to take a riverboat trip together. You can, we've had people hire trolleys and do tours to see Christmas tree lights. That they sold out 4 times. It was incredible. And your people love getting together, right? What could you do? Could you start a subscription or a membership for your customers? Could you do a trunk show of some sort? Could you do a class? If you're a gift store, could you do a tabletop class, or decorating your mantle, or decorating your front door kind of class? If you're a clothing store, could you do how to wear scarves class, or how to bring in your favorite top and we'll show you 5 different ways to wear it? Any sort of class like that, and just serve a little food and just try it. Just throw it out there. You could do knitting classes in a brewery. You've had people do that. You could do fashion shows in a brewery. That's another fun thing. You could do a book club. You could take your customers to a screening of your favorite movie. You could take your customers to a winery. You could do a winery tour. It doesn't matter what kind of store you are. You could do a winery tour. You could do an alpaca farm tour. We've had clients take their customers to foreign countries to visit the factories where those products are made. You could have a chili cook-off, a chocolate chip cookie cook-off, right? It can be anything. There literally is no limit to what's possible for you in this. I want you to look at both sides of it. One side of it is the tactical financial side, which is controlling that. The other side is what can you do specifically in those months to increase sales. It is powerful. And remember, you're not alone in this struggle. It's a super common cycle for retailers. But by planning for your peak seasons with precision like this and being proactive about these cash flow strategies, you can finally break free from this inventory and cash flow black hole. You can finally stay ahead of your retail cash flow challenges. At the end of every episode, we always share a milli moment. And what's a milli moment? A milli moment is a time when you achieved something in your business that felt extraordinary, something that made you pause and reflect and say, wow, I did that. I figured that out. It's not just about hitting the $1 million in sales, although that can be it too. We're on a mission to help more women achieve that status because we discovered that less than 1.9% of all $1 million businesses are owned by women. It's crazy. So it's about any breakthrough, dollars or inspiration, big or small, that gave you a sense of pride or progress or inspiration. It can be a moment when you overcame a challenge. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. It was a very personal one. It happened in November. Paul said to me, my husband Paul sits at the desk right behind me if you're looking at here on YouTube. He's the one who handles our bills and takes care of all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, he said, the American Express bill is really high this month. I said, oh, okay, whatever. And then come the end of the month, he's like, no, Cathy, it's like still really high. What's going on? And long story short, what I realized is that the team had asked me how much we should spend on Facebook ads. And we had a couple of big initiatives planned to make some goals that we wanted to. And so I gave them an amount that I just thought sounded good. I actually hadn't budgeted for it at all. And a couple of other things came due. So there were a couple of other stressors on it. And we had hit this huge cash flow crunch in November, like huge. And it was all my own doing. Here, I teach this stuff. I've had clients say to me, yeah, so I just decided to do this, to buy this or whatever. Next time, if there's something you really want to do, just reach out because we can help you strategize how to make sure you pay for that ahead of time or whatever, But here I did what I see retailers do all the time. I just made the best decision I could at the time, and I really thought it would work out. But my milling moment in here is that I literally only panicked for about a day. And then I said, no, listen, there's options. There's things we can do. I'd been in a time like this before. What can we do to get out of it? And so we had 15 different tools we used, 15 different little strategies that we took action on, many of which I talked about here. And we're not quite out of it, but we're almost out of it. We should be out of it now by March for sure. So yeah, it can happen to anybody. Cash flow crunches can happen to anybody. And the richer retailer way is to not just put a Band-Aid on a wound that is just, hemorrhaging out, but to look at it and fix it. And that's what I did. And that's what these strategies are for today. Listen, if this episode encouraged you or inspired you in any way, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave us a review. Let me know which action you're going to take. You only have to take one. Just pick one from everything we talked about and take action on that. You can connect with me at our Facebook group over at RETAILMavens FB for Facebook.com or shoot me a DM. I'll meet you back here so soon, and know that you are not alone, that we are here to support you. It is what we do. And please share this with every single store owner you know, because every single one of you, every single one deserves to be a richer retailer. And this will help you get there. Know that you are astonishingly fabulous and you are loved. Happy retailing.